You were a weapon, a bringer of death.
I hear thunder. Pitter-patter.
And now, you're nothing.
Time to wake up.
I will keep on killing you. Again and again.
Kill the jailer. Fight for your freedom. Jailer is the key. Kill him, and you'll be free.
Hey guys, Spence here. So, Furi? Whatever. This game was made and released by the Game Bakers, which is an independent studio founded by former AAA developers, and in the case of this game, with character designs coming straight from Takashi Okazaki, the creator of Afro Samurai, so you can see some character parallels between the two. After seeing the unedited boss fight video for the first boss, I got super interested in this game, and now I don't have to wait, so I can now talk about it. So, what exactly is going on in Furi? Furi? We're calling it Furi. Anyway, we'll see what's going on in Furi. The game begins with your character, referred to as the Stranger, being simultaneously tortured by a man with 3 masks, and rescued by a guy in a bunny hat helmet mask thing. Anyway, after Bunny gives you your sword and gun, he informs you that you must kill the jailer if you hope to become free. And after a boss fight that doubles as a tutorial fight, you kill the jailer and a door appears before you, and Bunny Head then informs you that you have to kill all of the jailers and guardians if you have hopes to become free again.
Bravo! Excellent! Anyway, the good news, we're one step closer to freedom. The bad news, there's more out there waiting for us.
As you probably imagine, the plot tries to work the whole mysterious what exactly is going on in the game world sort of angle, and for the most part it works, though certain aspects sort of reveal themselves a bit too quickly or are a bit too on the nose when it comes to certain aspects, like the circumstances of your character's imprisonment. Most of the plot is given as exposition between Bunnyhead when you're walking between boss fights, and the jailers themselves, who don't really go to great lengths to hide their contempt for you.
I doubt it.
But for the most part, the game's main strength when it comes to its plot is how intriguing the world is. You want to know what exactly is going on with the jailer, what exactly is the state of the world, and you definitely want to know what the heck is going on with Bunnyhead. But for the most part, the plot is not the main focus. It definitely helps with the aesthetic and storytelling and how the gameplay works, but it's not the main focus of the game.
Just remember, she's messing with your head.
Gameplay-wise, it is technically a third-person beat-em-up, shoot-em-up, hack-and-slash, bullet hell, boss rush style of game, but that's really more of a list of where it gets all its mechanics from as opposed to any meaningful description of the game itself. This is a boss rush style of game, meaning that outside of walking through environments, your main interaction with the game will be fighting the bosses. And in this game, over time, you will not be learning new moves. Instead, you'll be challenged with different situations that you'll have to use the same tools for to come up with different solutions, with each progressing fight demanding more and more speed and focus from the player. When you're in combat with the bosses, you'll be jumping between 2 modes, an overhead mode and a close quarters mode. Now these modes are similar, but they also work pretty differently. In the overhead mode, you'll be dealing with a lot of long-range attacks from the bosses. To deal with this, you have your sword you can use for close-range attacks and charge it for a dash attack that can stun the boss and allow you to do even more damage to it. Use your gun to attack enemies from afar, which can also be charged to do more damage and knock bosses down. A parry action, which allows you to parry a close-range attack in case a boss decides to get a bit too frisky, and follow up with your own melee attack. And lastly, a dash that doubles as a blink, though it's on a delay so you can't just spam it to get out of every single situation, which also can be charged for more distance, though the tutorial does not tell you this. Then there was the close quarters mode, which is similar to the overhead but with 3 key differences. 1, the camera view will be closer to the opponent, but more importantly, you'll always be in a certain range of them regardless of what happens. 2, you lose all access to your gun, so you're not going to be able to do any range attacks while you're in this mode. And 3, you gain the ability to charge yourself to empower your next sword attack, with 3 caveats. 1, you lose this charge if you get hit at all. 2, it will not empower any charged sword attacks, and in fact you will lose if you do that, so don't do it. And 3, this is another thing that the tutorial doesn't tell you, which, by the way, it empowers your weapon by a lot, so it'd be really nice to know, instead of stumbling across it like I did.
I'll tell you what I know on the way, but don't expect all the answers. It's all about what a man does.
Now on to the boss battles themselves. These things are not like skirmishes, and if your skill level isn't exceptionally high with the game, any given boss will take you anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes depending on how much of a hard time you're having, and sometimes even more than that. You see, each boss is divided up into phases. You see these little squares here? Each one of these is a phase, and each phase has 2 parts to it. The first part when you're in overhead mode, chipping away at the blue life bar, and after that you reveal the red life bar, which you'll have to chip away in the close quarters mode. Destroy that life bar, and congratulations, you defeated a phase, and cycle rinse repeat until you get rid of all the little squares. And let me be clear, it's definitely not just that makes these boss fights long, as each boss will have their own different sets of tactics and abilities that will change as the fight progresses. Bosses that were filling the screen with bullets a second ago will start to teleport around trying to hit you with sneak attacks. Bosses that were shooting straight bullets that would mess with your vision you were hit are now going in strange patterns, all the while they're duplicating themselves while they do this. Bosses that were dashing around trying to shoot you for one phase might all of a sudden start playing hide and seek with you while you're trying to— oh my goodness, get it off of me! And almost every boss has a phase when they just shoot straight Toho at you. This makes for a game that's really challenging and always trying to be intense, and it always tries to escalate this intenseness. Even while doing so, it tries to be fair. For example, if you lose one of your lives during a fight, you'll have to do that phase over again, starting from the blue life bar because they'll just get their HP back. But if you defeat a phase while you're missing one of your lives, you will get one of your lives back, making comebacks entirely possible in this game. And defeating bosses feels so satisfying, way more so than your average game like Mario Number 9. And the game is just fun to play. Fighting the bosses and getting through all their phases and seeing what new tactics and tricks they'll do is just half the fun of it. All the while trying to find an optimal way to defeat them is just a lot of fun. It's a very well designed system that caters to the idea that the player has an idea of what they're doing. And gameplay wise, the game thrives because of it.
With experience comes perspective.
Presentation-wise, while it definitely has a solid, surreal aesthetic to the game, it is not very technically impressive. A good example of this is how the main character's character model is always clipping almost every single time you see him, if not every time. Then when it comes to the actual options, there really isn't much there outside of changing your resolutions, your refresh rate, and toggling VSync on and off, and frankly I can't tell the difference no matter what you toggle it. So visually the presentation is alright, above average. I mean, it runs at 60, and for a smaller game, it did a good job, but for the most part, it's above average, so, you know, it's alright. On the sound front, sound effects sound alright, and when it comes to voice acting, there is a surprising amount of it in this game, and it's done pretty well, and a lot of the voice acting is pretty amusing for what it is. Now, when it comes to the music, man, this music! It was worked on by like 5 different people that I never heard of since I'm not a music guy, but if you like groovy, funky, cyber techno, then this is definitely the sort of soundtrack you would like to listen to. That being said, it will go straight up over your head in the context of the game since you're so focused on the boss fight. If you get a chance, I recommend going on their Bandcamp and listening to it there, where you are not being distracted by hails of gunfire and angry jail wardens. So that's Furi. Would I recommend this game? Yes. This is a challenging game that rewards patience, observation, timing, and reflexes, and it has a good pace with its difficulty, though I can think of 2 sets of bosses that should be swapped around in regards to their difficulty, but for the most part it escalates at a good rate, and you feel a great satisfaction for beating them, and like I said before, it's just a very fun game to play. The closest thing I can find to as a flaw with the game is that it probably won't run you past 10 hours. And if you want a challenging beat 'em up, shoot 'em up, hack and slash, bullet of hell, third person, boss rush style game, this is definitely one to pick up.
Believe me, what's waiting at the end of all this is so worth the trouble. Now let's get the hell out of here.
Hello again, thanks for watching. If you happen to like this sort of content, drop a like, subscribe, and maybe tell a friend who will also be interested in this sort of content, and drop a comment if you happen to have an opinion. In the meantime, you want to play another game that is technically a shoot 'em up, beat 'em up, hack and slash, bullet hell, third-person action game that I would heavily recommend Galaxy. Granted, it'll have a space, anime, mecha, roguelike bent to it, but still, it technically fits the definition. On the other hand, if you want more top-down shooter, then I recommend looking at Assault Android Cactus by clicking on the right annotation. It has similar boss design to Furi.